In this tutorial we're going to take a look at one of the how-to questions, and that is how do we fix our rent arrears if it's not correct. So we've looked at one of our tenants and the rent arrears number looks to be incorrect. How do we fix that? So I'm going to take a look at one tenant in particular, this tenant here. Now if we go to the information tab, this is where we'll do a lot of our investigation and our fix-ups. We'll see here the total due is this number here, minus 90, and we don't think that's correct. That can't be right. So we want to investigate that and fix it. Now this screen here will help you a lot when doing your investigations. This number here, you can't just type a new number in to fix it. To fix that number you have to fix the underlying transactions. That number there is calculated as the sum of the due column. If you add up all these numbers in the due column and subtract from that all the numbers in the paid column, you'll end up with that number there. Also the running total you can see on the side here. At the bottom it all adds up to minus 90, which is that number there. So in order to change that number we have to change these numbers. So the first thing we'll look at is this number here, the rent due. Now the rent due looks like it's 110, but looks like all the payments have been 100, so maybe that's wrong. So we can go to the rent changes tab and we can take a look at what rent they are due to pay. If I edit this, I can fix it. Like let's say it's supposed to be 100, so I can save that. There's a separate tutorial on rent changes if you want to know more about rent changes, but if we go back to our information tab now, you'll see the rent due is now 100 in all these cases here. So it's changed all these numbers. It used to be 110, now it's 100. That looks better. What else can we change? Let's take a look at this number here. This is not rent, this is extra charges. So if this number is not correct, I go to the extra charges tab and there's an extra charge there. I can change that number, like let's say I'll make it 20. From here I can also add more extra charges, or I can delete extra charges if they're not correct. There's also a separate tutorial on extra charges if you want to find out more information on those. So now that I've changed that number to 20, we go back out over here, we can see that number's also changed to 20. We can see this number here keeps on changing. Every time we change something, the total due changes. So that's the due taken care of. There's two things that are due, either rent or extra charges. Once we've fixed those up, if we're still not right, we have to start taking a look at the paid column. Now to fix transactions in the paid column we need to go to the cash book screen. So I'll go to the cash book, and the best thing to do is to do a filter. Select the tenant that you're interested in this case is this one, and click load. And what that'll do is that'll load all the transactions for that tenant. Now just be careful, if you have multiple bank accounts there could be transactions on another tab that you weren't aware of, so just be aware of that. Now that I've loaded all these transactions, and I should really compare these with my bank statement to take a look at what should be entered in here compared to what actually is. Like I can see there's a possible discrepancy here already. We can see that on the 8th to the 7th there's actually two transactions. One of those might not be right. So I'd go off and investigate that, take a look at my bank statement, see if they did actually pay twice. If not, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete one of those transactions. Like that. Another thing I've noticed down here, all the amounts are 100 except for this one, which is 200. Maybe I typed the wrong number when I entered that transaction. So if it's not correct, check the bank statement. If it's not correct, I can come in here and I can change it. That looks better. Now if I go back to my tenant details screen for that same tenant, go to the information again, and this number has changed again. So these numbers have changed, the paid column has changed, these are exactly the same as what's entered in the cash book. So that's how we fix up our rent arrears. In order to change this value we have to change one of three things, either the rent due, which means we go to the rent changes tab, or the extra charges, which means we go to the extra charges tab, or the items on the paid column, in which case we go to the cash book and change them there. And once we've fixed all those up, once these numbers in the due and paid column are correct, our total down the bottom here and the total up here will also be correct.